Hey, I've seen people talking about the show on Twitter, and I did a video about a very brief thoughts on the Thailand version, but people brought up the other versions, and here's some of my thoughts. So, as I mentioned, the first ever Osan's Love was in 2016, and it was a late night, episode, a trial for as an end of year program. And in the original, they actually had Yukiya Hasegawa, played by Motoki Ochiai, already living with Soichi Haruta, which is Keitanaka's role. Hase, as he's called, has already been living with Haruta for over a year and works in the same place. The uncle, Kurosawa, was already divorced. And Haruta first realized that his boss may be interested in him when he saw all the photos in his phone while he was taking a group photo for the company. And in that episode, they played that very now infamous line of Hase going to Haruta asking, wouldn't he accept someone with a big member instead of someone with a big bosom? So that was kept, and a number of key themes in that special was kept for the official season 1 of Osan's Love. But as I mentioned, Osan's Love season 1 was created as it was featured on TV. So in Japan, they have something where the actors would be talking alongside when they're watching the actual episode. So they will be like giving their own feedback and commentary as the episode is playing. And in episode 2, Keitanaka mentioned how he thought Hayashi Kento looked a lot like Chihuahua. And as I mentioned, this is why this book featuring a Chihuahua was featured in the story of season 1. And as I mentioned, Hayashi was also in a Netflix series called Hibana Spark at the same time, and so the name Tokunaga was featured as the title of that book. And we know there was a lot of ad-libbing in that show, and there were scenes that were just throwing around, and the directors and producers made it quite clear that when they were filming it, they allow the camera just to roll and see what comes up between the actors and allow the actors to just act based on their own feeling. So in the last episode, 7, and the very, very, very last scene where you see Haruta and Maki playing around and throwing things at each other, the script never had in there that they were gonna kiss. It was something that Hayashi felt at that moment was appropriate. And so they just let them act that out. Season 1 was a chaos, but it was a chaos that was created by allowing everyone just to do whatever they want. So it actually became very much their story because it was created not just by the producer, directors, but the actors themselves, and part of it maybe from fans who were talking about it. So they actually all created that story. So for a lot of hardcore OL fans like myself, the show was very much about Hayashi and Tanaka, And there is that bond about this whole cast and the fans that made it difficult for, I guess, for some of us when it gone to season 2 with a completely different cast, with a very weird story line. It's fun, but it doesn't have the same meaning. And a lot of the OL fans were going like for hours looking at different Easter eggs in the show, which include the lights where you see heartbroken lights or tears drop when Kurosawa was rejected. And those were really cute moments for OL fans, and we were looking out for them. It didn't show up so much at season 3. There was a little bit of that, but it wasn't exactly the same. And the other thing is that you can actually buy these script online. They're in Japanese, but they're available for sale pretty much almost immediately after it was screened. And in those scripts, you'll see commentaries from the producers, directors, and writers as to how they got to where it is. And you see that with the Hong Kong version, they've basically haven't changed too much of it. It's basically the same story but extended, set in a Hong Kong setting, but it's basically the same story. The Hong Kong version was very well received, and I guess it gave them a bit of more time to put the story together, but because it was still very much like the Japanese version, so there wasn't too much of a surprise, but definitely flows a lot better than season 1, and written specifically for the Hong Kong audience. The Thai version's been well received in Japan so far, and I saw some people making comment about how part of that wasn't like the Japanese version, particularly the lines to do with the big member. It probably isn't really that bothering for me. Partly that was created 5 years ago, and it's probably not something that is relatable in a Thai settings. And I do feel that the Thai production have tried to create a story much more for themselves, that's got a Thai element in them, and so they were kind of recreating the story instead of adapting what's already out there. It is only episode 1 in Thailand, so I can't comment more. I can't really do a good comparison of the story. You can see all of the Japanese version of Osan's Love, including the Terasa versions on Gaga Ulala. The Hong Kong version is only available on View TV Hong Kong, and I don't think there's English subtitles. But if you do start from 2016 version, you'll see how far it came in terms of the production of Osan's Love from the very, very beginning to Osan's Love Return from 2024. The thing though I'm really wanting to see is whether Keitanaka and Kento Hayashi will appear in the Thai version, because both earthmix actually did appear in Osan's Love's Return. So that is what I'm really, really looking forward to. These are just some of my thoughts as an OL fans, not so much about the acting or the actors in the show, but let me know what you think. Let's have a chat.